Okay, so in the previous classes we were discussing about controlling, right? It's the last managerial function, that is the controlling. So what is controlling? Basically, controlling is the process of setting standards, right? The step is we have to set the standard. Then the second step is we need to measure the actual performance. Okay, standard is what we aim to achieve, right? Next, we need to measure what is our actual performance, right? The second step is that. Then we need to take the corrective actions. That is, if we are not meeting our standards, if we are not meeting our standards, which has been set according to the organization goals and plans, we need to take corrective actions so that we can meet the organization goals and the plans can be attained, right? So that's basically controlling. So controlling means we are setting the standards, measuring the actual performance, finding out whether we meet it or not, then taking the corrective steps so that we can meet the organization goals, organization objectives, or the plans can be followed accordingly, right? So what is the importance of controlling? The controlling is based on future action, right? Based on the controlling only, we will decide upon the future action. That is whether we should improve our staff, whether we should improve our equipments, whatever it is, we need to. The basis for future actions will be controlling. Then it facilitates decision making. Again, we are verifying, right? We are verifying what is to be done. So we are taking decisions on ensure standards. We are also, first of all, we are set to the standards. We have set standards and we are making sure that we are meeting the standards. So it ensures standards. Then facilitates decentralization. So look at the controlling process here. We need to, first of all, we need to set the standards, right? Then we need to measure the actual performance, right? Then we need to find out the deviations, whether there are any deviations or not. Then we need to take corrective actions, right? And make sure that the goals and objectives are met. So there are many tasks are there. So what is decentralization? Decentralization means dispersal of authority, right? So one single person cannot do all these things. So by controlling, we are ensuring that decentralization happens. Right? A single person cannot do all these activities, so it becomes a huge work. So what can be done? We can divide it among the staff. So it becomes decentralization comes. Authority or the power comes into different staff. Then ensures effective and optimal utilization of resources. Again, we have decentralized. We have set the standards. So we know what is the required, right? So we ensure effective and optimal. Term optimal is important over here, right? Optimal means it's not more, it's not less. Whatever it is needed, exactly that. Then facilitates coordination. Again, there are many steps are there. So we have decentralized the authority also. So we need effective coordination. So it facilitates more and more coordination among the departments. Then improves the efficiency, right? We have set the standard. We are making sure that we meet the standards. So our efficiency is improved, our quality is improved, right? We can respond to environmental changes. Why? Because see, we are not able to meet our standard. Why? Maybe because the environmental factor, right? We are forced to respond to environmental changes. Otherwise, what will happen? If we have no standards, we will go as such. Today we produce only 60, so 60 is enough. But if we had a control mechanism that makes sure that we produce 100, right? If there is a control mechanism that makes sure that we had to produce 100, so we have a deviation of 40, minus 40. We are going below our optimum, right? So we can work for that. So we are forced to respond to the environmental changes rather than going along with it. Then basically by doing all this, we gain a competitive advantage, right? Now, what are the basic control process? So control process means these are things, right? So whatever may be, okay, wherever it is found and whatever it may be, like by in the NASA rocket science department, okay, in the NASA rocket science department or in a safety pin manufacturing company in Mattanur, okay, or whether it's a manufacturer of a rocket engine or it's manufacturer of safety pin, the control mechanism process will remain the same. The basic control process is same. Okay, the basic control process is same wherever it is found and whatever is being controlled, right? And what are the control steps? The first step is establishing standards, right? What is standard? So standard means basically they are criteria of performance. Okay, there are criteria of performance that we should do this. Okay, whenever I'm going to bat, so I'm going to score a 50 runs. I'm going to score half century. So that's the standard that's set up on myself. It's the criteria for my performance. That it has been put by myself. So it's the criteria of performance. It should be very clear, it should be concrete, and it should be measurable in nature. Right? So when I say 100 pens, right? It can be 100 black, 100 blue, 100 green, 50 black, 50 green. Like numerous combinations are possible, right? But if I say 100 black ballpoint pens, so there is no ambiguities, right? So different companies may be there, but pen will be 100 black ballpoint pens. So there is, it's very clear, it's concrete. So there's no scope for interpretation, right? So it should be clear, it should be concrete, and it should be measurable. 100, 50, this much hours, okay? 35 hours, 45 hours. It should be very measurable in nature, right? The standards are selected points in the plan at which performance is measured. Okay, this will give the manager an idea about how things are going, and thus he does not have to watch every step in the execution of plans. Right? Right. So what happens? If we had right so in the concreting process, right? In the concreting process, the site engineer or the boss may come only during the concreting process. He will not stay there for quality. Or what he'll make sure that you have to cast a cube so that the strength which you promised as of what has been delivered. So when the concrete you have concreted, you have mixed the concrete, you'll have to cast 15 by 15 by 15 cubes in the site itself. Then after that, you will have to after get it to lab, then test it and show that this is the prescribed strength of concrete. That is, you have used M20 concrete has to be used, so you have used M20 concrete, right? So that's what that's be that's the control point. Okay, so so the owner he need not be there at the all points. Okay, but when he sees this report, he can identify that that is the strength is there, right? Similarly, what will happen is an example is when we say talk about like see a cook. Okay? You might have seen the cookery shows. Okay, the chef, the major one. What he will do? He'll be walking around, and he'll taste at some point. Okay, he'll taste the food at some point and see that whether everything is there. Okay, whether salt, whether the turmeric, whether chili, everything is there, right? So that is again a point. So these are critical points. So the chef he need not sit there and watch him prepare everything. Okay, you can just go at a point and take a test. Okay, before just finalize, you go, you take a test. So what happens is, so he can be sure that the cooking is up to the standard. The standards are selected points in the plan at which performance is measured, and this scale give the manager an idea about how things are going. Right? So he knows the cook has done everything correctly. So that's the reason why he has got the taste, and thus he does not have to watch every step in the execution plan. Okay, so similar step. That's the first thing. So first is we have to establish standards. The second thing is we need to measure the performance. So whenever we say measuring the performance, it should be in terms of quality and quantity. Okay. Sometimes it may be in terms of quality, other times it may be in terms of quantity. Right? So we have to take into account what is being measured. The third step is we have to compare. We have to compare the performance against the standards. Right? We need to compare the actual performance against the standard. The actual performance is compared to such standards. We have set a standard, we'll produce 1000 black ballpoint pens. And now how many have we produced? So this has to be compared. The deviations can be defined as the gap between the actual performance and the planned targets. The actual performance can be more than, less than, or equal to the standard. So our standard is 1000 black ballpoint pens, right? Now we have to find out the deviation. So whether we have produced 1000. Okay, so sometimes it may be 1000 itself. So we have no deviation. Sometimes we have gone above that. We have produced 1100. We have achieved beyond that. In certain cases, we might have gone below that. Where so what is the deviation? We need to find out the deviation. Now we have to correct for the deviations, right? So based on the results, managers can know where exactly to corrective measures are to be applied. Okay, where have we gone wrong? So sometimes what will happen is that the raw materials would have come in late. Sometimes the power system would have failed us. So there will be certain idea. So our manager has to identify that. So this is where we have gone wrong, and he has to take corrective actions. So corrective actions can be first one is by redrawing the plans or modifying the goals. Maybe 1,000 is not achievable by us. Okay, within our constraints, 1,000 is not achievable. In that case, manager has to redraw the plans. Okay, now we let go for 900, or if the plan is impossible. Okay, next is if it is due to the personal problem, right? Because we say first case of the raw materials didn't come in time. So it may be because the person hasn't ordered it quickly, or the supplier has made an error. So there has to be some corrections has to be there. So reassignment can be done. Okay, the person can be shifted to other, or new supplier can be arranged. And or basically, if there's any doubt in their duties, that can be clarified. So next thing is maybe staff. So we need an additional staff has to be provided, or by training subordinates. So the staff were lacking some in some way, so he can be trained, or maybe even firing them. Okay, firing them is also a possibility. Then that's as far as staff is concerned. So we have taken the plan into consideration, the staffing into consideration. Now itself, the manager, his leadership styles may not be adequate, so he might have to change his style. Okay? Maybe he's following an autocratic style, so he has to change it to democratic style. Maybe he's following a free range style, so he might have to change it to autocratic style. That will depend upon the situation, right? So this is about the basic control process. Now, control can be used as a feedback system and a feed forward system. There are two. Okay, feedback system. What you have been doing. You know what is a feedback system, right? So you might have gone for a restaurant for food. You will have the food. Then after that, the owner or the manager come and say, please tell me what is the feedback. Okay, how was our food? Okay, so you might say, maybe it's a new restaurant. So you say, okay, the food wasn't fine, but the service was a little lacking, or the service was very full, but the food was lacking. Time for getting the food was more. So that is the feedback. Okay, so the control system can be used as a feedback system. Okay, how does it work? So in feedback refers to the process of adjusting future actions on the basis of information about the past. Okay, so we are giving an information we have from our past experience. Okay, so from past experience, that is how the food was served. Now corrections can be made. So when a lot of people are complaining about the same thing, so what the manager can identify that the food is getting delayed. So he can make arrangements so that the food doesn't get delayed in the future. So he is using the past experience as a way to improve on his future. Okay. Basically, we are using the principle. We can learn from the past mistakes. Okay. So this can be explained with this block diagram. Okay. So look at here. Basically, we have a desired performance. Okay. There are steps before that. That's why this arrow is there. Okay. There are steps before that, like maybe planning, staffing, organizing, all these things are there. We have reached the point where we have desired performance. That's how standard is there. Okay. Next step. Next step is actual performance. Okay. Actual performance. So how have we performed? So desired standard is 1,000 black pens, 1,000 black ballpoint pens. So how have we actually performed? Then measurement of the actual performance. So we have performed. So how much have we produced? So we have produced 900 black ballpoint pens. Then comparison of the actual performance against the standards. So we have our standard was original desire was 1,000, but we have produced only 900. So we have compared. Now identification of the deviation. We have identified where we have deviated. Okay, what is the we have 100 plus. So analysis of the cause of deviation. Now why have we produced 100 plus? Maybe due to the production delay, maybe due to power outage, maybe due to the uh, raw materials was not available on time, right? So that may be the case. Uh, so, so we have analyzed the what is the deviation, right? Understood? Now we have to take the program of corrective action. We need to correct for it. We have made a mistake. We have made a mistake. Now we need to correct for it, right? We have made a mistake, so we need to correct for it. So maybe a new supply has to be found out, right? And now this correction we have made a so this supply has delayed our raw material. So we need a new supplier. We have identified the supplier, right? Now we need to implement implement the corrections. Where do we and when we implement these corrections, our desired performance will change, right? Our desired performance will improve. We'll reach the desired performance. Okay. The first case we have not reached our desired performance. Now, if we add this thing, implement our corrections are made, then we can achieve our desired performance. Understood? So what have we done basically? Basically, we have used this control mechanism as a feedback mechanism, right? Desired standards, actual measurement, actual performance, measurement of the actual performance, deviation, analysis of deviation, finding out the corrections, applying the corrections. These are all controlling process. We have used this controlling process as feedback to the feedback as a feedback. So our desired goals can be improved. So we have used the past experience. Okay, we have made a mistake. We have used that mistake in correcting our future. Okay, we have changed the future goals. So in the first case, we have used the supplier A. Now in the second case, we have used supplier B. So we have changed. We have changed our future. Right? So that is the feedback loop. We can use feedback management control manager function controlling as a feedback system. So what is the principle of everyone can learn from the future past experience? Okay, so we can learn from our past experience. Feedback control is one in which the control is exercised on the results of the work. Okay, you need to understand this is the important line. Feedback control is the one in which the control is exercised on the results of the work based on the result feedback. Just take an example of you're having a dinner in a restaurant. After having dinner, you are getting what you are going and you're giving the feedback. So based on the result of the work, it's the feedback control is the one feedback control is the one in which the control is exercised on the results of the work. It is also called output control, corrective control, or post-action control. Okay. It's also called output control, corrective control, or post-action control. Right? So do me a favor, just draw this in your book. I'll give you 2 minutes. Just draw that. Done. Okay. So this is how feedback loop works, right? That's the feedback mechanism. Right? Uh, Now, so what is important thing in feedback control? What is happening here? We are using controlling as a feedback mechanism. Okay, so feedback control is one in which the control is exercised on the results of the work. Okay, that is the important thing. In feedback control, the information fed back in the process to take corrective actions. Right? We are feeding it back into the actions. Right? So feed forward control. Feed forward control. So that's the feedback system. Okay. The second thing is, so the other thing is feed forward. So it is also known as input or steering control. It's also known as input control or steering control. So what is happening here? Here, the managers implement the control even before the activity begins. It is called feed forward control. Okay. So here, the corrective measures. Okay, the control it is applied even before the process is beginning. Okay, even before we are starting it the process. Even before the process begins, we are applying the feed forward control system. Okay, here example would be if you have a buffet lunch. Okay, maybe all you can eat buffet. All of us are gone, right? You will pay a fixed amount and you will go for all you can eat buffet. So the first time you go, you might have taken everything, but next time, the second time you're going, what would you do? You would have planned. Okay, so I have spent 1,400 rupees or 1,500 rupees. Now I need to, first of all, I need to eat above that. So I'll go for the chicken or the maybe the costly items. I'll leave the foods and everything, right? I leave the drinks, leave the food, or the oysters. Right? So what are you doing there? You have before itself you are making plan. Right? Even before you going for eating, you have made a control mechanism. That is, I need to achieve more than I need to eat for more than rupees 1,500. Right? So when managers implement control even before the activity begins. So it is the same thing over here also. Here also, the manager is doing something before the production started. We have not started the production of 1,000 pens, but before that itself, the manager has made some arrangement to make sure that we will produce 1,500. How is it different from the feedback? There, 1,000 pens has been the pens has been produced with the hope that we are going to produce 1,000 pens, but unfortunately we couldn't produce 1,000 pens. We understood what is the deviation, then only we corrected. Right? In this case, the manager will foresee, manager will anticipate what are the chances are that something is gonna go wrong. Okay, like whenever you're going for a tour, what would you do? You will take your mobile phone. You will always carry a portable charger with you, right? Like power bank with you. So you are anticipating a problem. That is, my phone battery may become dead. Okay, I need my phone. I need to take my selfies. So you are anticipating a problem. So that is feed forward. You are not going for a tour. Before you are going, whenever you are packing, even when you are packing, you have made sure that you have kept a power bank with you. That is feed forward. Okay. And how come you know this? Because of your past experience, right? So the aim is to solve the problem before they occur, right? So the aim is here to solve the problem because and what do we focus here? If we focus on the human resources, the physical resources, the financial resources, all the three: human, physical, and financial. Human means we, okay? Staff, all those things will come. Physical means the machineries, right? The plan, all these things that can come under physical resource, and the financial, how much money have you spent? This control tries to minimize or prevent the performance deficiencies through a precautionary control system. Okay. What are we going to do here? We are going to minimize, or rather, we are going to prevent the performance deficiencies through a precautionary control system. So you are carrying a power bank with you, so that's a precautionary control system. If your mobile phone charge drains out, you have a control system. You have a precaution that a charger, portable charger is there, so you can charge it out. Okay, so this control tries to minimize or prevent the performance deficiency through a precautionary control system, right? So you have paid 1,500 for the buffet, so you're making sure that you eat 1,500 at least. So you are not losing anything. Your performance are not deficient, right? The success of the control depends on the ability of the managers to anticipate problems and achieve timely interventions. Okay, that's important. The success of the control depends on the ability of the managers to anticipate problem and achieve timely interventions. Right? It depends on the manager how well he can see. So if you know, so I'm gonna heavily use my phone, so I need to carry a power bank. That's how you can see and how you plan your intervention. Right? So we are 60 people are going together. So we have in bus, how many ports will be there? We don't know. So I need to carry, even if we go to room, even if we get the room, so there will be many phones will be had to be charged. So I need to help like that. You should be able to anticipate. Okay, but that depends upon you as a manager. Right? Now, what are the requirements? The requirements are make a thorough analysis of the planning and control system and identify important input variables. Right? So we need to whenever for buffet, when we reach the buffet, we need to have a plan. We have to have a control system that I'm going to eat this, I'm going to eat that. So there should be a plan. Okay? And finding out the correct input, okay, which is the costliest thing. Okay? That you can take that analogy to identify the important input variables. Then develop a model. So here this model can be, see, what do you mean by a model? Okay? A model means a representation of reality. Okay? It means a representation of reality. So we see a globe, it's a model of Earth. Right? So Earth is a reality, so it's model means it's a representation. So what do you guys do? You eat taps, right? You model a building. Okay, you model a building. You apply various load combinations. You apply various thickness of concrete, various grade of concrete, various reinforcement, and see how the structure behaves. So sometimes the structure may fail. Now you need to change the modeling. So you have to develop a model of the system. So before building a 10-story building, you are creating a model of that, right? So develop a model of the system and review the model to see whether the input variables and their interrelationship continue to represent reality. Okay. Now you need to review the model. You can change the load combination, do the same thing, right? So you are reviewing the model and see what is the reality. Now collect data on the input variables regularly and put them into the system. Okay. So our input may change. Okay. So from outside, we need to collect data continuously. Like the we can create a model for wave, right? Wave you know, we have studied wave thermodynamics, right? So how the waves behave, right? So they take the daily data, or maybe take the daily data of the rainfall and input in the model and see how the model behaves. So collect data on the input variables regularly and put them into the system. Regularly assess the variations of the input and evaluate the impact on the system. So how does this variation? So yesterday I had 100 centimeter of rain. Today I am having 40 centimeter of rain. How does this affect my model? So I analyze that. Okay, assess that and see what is the impact and take actions to solve the problems indicated by the model. Now what model will give you a result? The more success, success, simulation failure. You might actually seen in the movies. Right? Do that. Can do that. Right? And recently there's a movie, the Tomorrow War. There's a scenario in there. So they are testing for an enzyme. They're testing it again and again and again, and the bonding. Okay. First it was 25%, then 30%, like the bonding improves. So as when we change the input variables, our output is changing. So system is adapting. Right? Same way. So how can we compare this to so basically any system will have an input, there will be a process. Okay, right? The process will happen and there will be an output. Right? This is so we are going to produce 1,000 pens. So I'll have 1,000 the infrastructure to produce 1,000 pens, the machineries to produce 1,000 pens, the people to produce 1,000 pens. That will be my input. Now the process, how I produce that. The process will happen and I'll get output. So this should be 1,000 because I have a standard. So in top I have set a standard that it should be 1,000. My standard is 1,000. Okay, desired output is 1,000. If it is 1,000, well and good. If it is not, that is my feedback, right? That is so output. From output, I'm getting the feedback. So how do I apply feedback control? So now, based on feedback, I'll change my process or I may change my input. Okay, that is feedback system. Okay, similarly, if it is feed forward system, while I have my input, I'll have my process, I'll have my output, and have my desired output also. In feed forward system, what is happening? Before the work starts, itself, I'm going to apply the corrective measures. It will go for the input, I'll apply the correction for process. Okay, reverse also. Input will also have an impact on my feed forward system. That is, suppose we are going in a bus. Now, the latest bus all have what charging facilities with near to our seat itself. So before, what we have to do, we have to go into to the front and then charge. Now, directly above us, where we keep our luggage, there will be a charging port is there. If that port is available, so even if you don't have a what power bank, you can survive. Right? So that inputs will also have an effect on the feed forward. Right? So that is how the difference. Okay? Input, process, output. Okay, we have a standard, then based on standard, we'll get a feedback. Now, if it is feedback mechanism, based on the feedback, the process and the input will change. Now, if it is feed forward system, based on that, inputs and process will change. Okay. Before the work starts, the feed forward system would work. Okay. Now, what happened? Feed forward system monitor inputs into a process to determine if the input are as planned. Okay. So, before system monitoring the input also. Okay. If it's accordingly what we have planned. If it is not, the input or process is changed. Okay. Before itself, we are changing it. We are not waiting for the end result. We are feeling that it is not up to the mark, so we'll change it at that particular time. Clear? Feedback, feed control. So go through the questions. It's very easy for you to understand. If you have it out, let me know. Right? Tomorrow we'll have a discussion on that. Now, what is the requirements? So requirements of effective control. What are the tailoring controls to plans and positions? Okay, the control must suit to the nature and need of the job to be controlled. Okay, so what do you mean by tailoring? See, if you are going for buying a ready-made shirt, you'll have medium, large, XL, small, like that. Right? You'll pick up a size for you, and you'll wear and see if that fit is correct. That's ready-made. And now what do you do when you go for tailoring? Tailor will take a measurements. Your chest, yeah, waist, everything measure, your arms, your biceps, all these measurements will be taken. So you can correct it accordingly. So you can say, so I need bicep should pop. Yeah, I need a shirt like that. So it's tailoring to you. It is custom made, right? It's for you only. Kind of according to your body structure, we are making it. So similarly, tailoring the plans and positions should be uh, control should be according to plan and position. That is how what is the nature of the work. Okay, what is the jobs to be controlled? That is to be seen. Okay, so tailoring controls to individual manager also. So not only the plans but also the managers. So each person will have different approach. That should be again understood, right? Making sure the control points are critical. So make sure the control points are critical points, right? Making sure the control points are critical points. That is, we said like the chef tasting the food. The chef should taste the food only after all the ingredients have been added. If you go before the cook has added the salt, if he goes and tastes the food and says there's no salt, is there any point? No. Only after the salt has been added, every ingredient has been added, then only the chef should go and taste the food. Right? So at the point should be correct. Making sure the control points are at critical points. Right? And should be objective, accurate, unbiased, and impersonal. Okay? So controlling should be done. It should be objective. We should not have any personal vendetta in that. It should be very accurate. It should be unbiased. There should be no bias and nothing personal. Okay? Nothing personal about it. Then it should be economical. That's a very important thing. It should be economical and easy to maintain. Why? Because if it is expensive, in the long run, we may feel that it's not needed. Okay, why are we spending so much money on this? Okay, if it's complex to maintain, then also the problem will arise. What should be our aim? Aim should be achieve maximum output at minimum cost. Achieve maximum at minimum cost, right? Then it should be flexible. The control mechanism should not be rigid. See, now we are in a dynamic situation. So if we had a control mechanism that worked 2 years before or 3 years before, that will never work today, right? So we should be able to change it accordingly. It should be flexible. Then it should fit with the organization also, how our organization is run. Whether we are going for traditional approach, where we are having innovative approach. See, you might have seen the earlier, everyone will be wearing coat suit, tie and all. Now the work culture is changing. People are coming in shorts, right? So it should fit with the organization culture, and it should lead to corrective action. Okay, the important thing is it should be just showing us the deviation is not enough. It should lead to the corrective action. It should disclose where the failures are. Okay, what is the reason? Why did we fail? Where the failures are occurring and who is responsible for them? Okay, and it should show point out the required corrective actions. What can be done to correct the thing, right? So we'll stop here for today, right? If you have any doubt, please let me know, or else we'll move on to attendance, right? Just a sec. I think the network has crashed. Is there any doubt? When is the time for letting me know if any have any doubts or not? And about your this thing, there will be a quiz on fifth module, this module, but the sixth module, this particular module, yeah, on a time, on your assignment time. So prepare accordingly and answer it, right?